Welcome back, everybody, to the Nosebleed Sports Podcast. I'm Chris Witt, and with me, as always, is Mr. Adam Schmidt. Adam, how are you?
Outstanding. How are you?
If I was any better, I would be our guest, which if you are on YouTube, you will see a third party joining the Nosebleed Sports Podcast. No one has seen him on this podcast before, but you have heard him. He was on our soccer podcast. This is Mr. Joe Lehnert. Joe, my man, how are you today?
Doing well, Chris. Guys, thanks for having me on, as always.
Our
Joe,
pleasure.
I can't tell you how excited I am about today. So me, Joe, and Adam. Joe is our soccer correspondent, which if you guys listen to the Nosebleed Sports Podcast, then you know that soccer is not the biggest thing on our podcast. Therefore, Joe's only been on once, but that's okay. We love Joe. He's on a little group chat with us, and we had some baseball talk, and this is going to get a little interesting. Joe's got some interesting topics, so we thought, you know what better time than Corona, because baseball is not going to last a full season, obviously, because they've postponed 4,322 games already. So let's have some fun and talk about these silly rules that they got going on during the year that will never be remembered, 2020.
Before we start on that, before we start on that, Chris, I want to quickly shout out Training Personally with Peggy Edwards. So the Nosebleed Sports Podcast is brought to you by Training Personally. No matter your level of fitness, if you're a beginner like me, an intermediate like Chris, or an advanced workout person like Joe, if you'd like to be challenged a little or a lot and want the benefit of
working to go work out.
What's that?
He just left to go work out. He said, I don't have to be on the podcast during the sponsors being read. He's giving us 50 push-ups right now.
Yep. If you are not watching this on YouTube, if you are listening to it, then Joe is doing 50 push-ups as we speak. If you like to be challenged a little or a lot, and you want the benefit of working with a personal trainer without the personal trainer cost, Training Personally with Peggy Edwards is the gym for you to check out. Training Personally is interval circuit training for all levels with a personal trainer at your pace on your time. Peggy Edwards keeps workouts safe, keeps them fresh, keeps them fun. She's going to keep you healthy. It's a circuit, but everything's cleaned constantly, and you are doing the whole circuit in one spot. You go to the gym, you have your space. Everybody else is far away from you. You do your whole circuit in one spot. You have all the equipment you need. It's all cleaned. And so stop in and check it out. And let Peggy Edwards know that you heard about Training Personally on the Nosebleed Sports Podcast. You will get your first month of classes for free. So stop in, 3634 Boudinot Avenue in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's right next to Grace Lutheran Church, if you know where that is, on the west side. Shoot her an email if you have any questions, Peggy@trainingpersonally.com. She's on Facebook, Training Personally on Facebook. Trainingpersonally.com has all the information you need, or give her a call, 513-328-0296. That is 513-328-0296. Chris, you have somebody for us, don't you?
Adam, before I get into the second sponsor, I just want to say how much I love the fact that you are a true West Sider. Not only are you a true West Sider, but you are a true Cheviot. What do you guys call yourselves?
Cheviotonians.
Cheviotonian. You're a true Cheviotonian. You said, to describe where Training Personally was, you said right next to Grace Lutheran Church, which
right Grace Lutheran Church.
90% of Cheviot doesn't even know where Grace Lutheran Church is.
Hey, but you know what? If you're listening to this podcast, you should know that, because that is where you and I both went to kindergarten. So that's important to know.
My second time in kindergarten. I failed the first kindergarten somewhere else, went to kindergarten a second time there, totally passed.
There is an episode of King of Queens. I'm sorry to throw this in. I know we're wasting time. An episode of King of Queens where Doug finds out all these lies that his parents have told him for years.
The dog one, right? About the dog?
Yeah, he had to repeat. One of them was he had to repeat kindergarten, and he didn't know because his parents told him it was super kindergarten. So you went to super kindergarten.
Although, Chris, that probably helped you athletically, right, for sports?
So there's no doubt I was older than everybody else in my grade. Yeah, I could have played up. I'm glad I played in my grade, though, because we were way better than the grade above us. They were terrible at sports. We were phenomenal. No thanks to me, just thanks to the other kids in the class. Anyway, all right. So also brought to you by Ohio Mosquito Control. That's ohio-mc.com. At Ohio Mosquito Control, they offer quality services to the Cincinnati area at a reasonable prices. They're family owned and operated, which we love. Small company, small group of people. They will get in touch with you. They'll set you up with, you can set everything up online too. You don't have to talk or touch or be anywhere near anybody. They set it up online. They come to your house. They spray. They get you taken care of. No mosquitoes. Well, I won't say zero mosquitoes. That's almost impossible. But no mosquitoes. My kids get bitten up like crazy. Joe, you are probably one of the first ones to ever go to Ohio Mosquito Control after hearing about it here on the Nosebleed Sports Podcast. What do you think about them?
We still use them to this day. I mean, I think it's probably, a year now we've used them. Happy with their service. Thanks for the second year, from the pod. But, they still come to our house out in Norwood.
There you go. Anywhere in the Cincinnati area, you can get a hold of them at ohio-mc.com, or you can call them at 513-347-3594. If you're in the Cincinnati area and you are a residential house, they'll come do a one-time spray if you got a party, which I hope you're not having parties because it turns out that's where all this corona is spreading from. But if you are, screw it. They'll come spray for you. Also, they'll come spray for you for the entire season if you just don't want to get bitten up in your backyard. They'll also come to your commercial location and spray for you there. So get a hold of them, ohio-mc.com, 513-347-3594. Let's get into this. Boys, it's sports time. Baseball is going on. There was something that has never happened in the history of Major League Baseball. Once again, the Reds have become a first in the history of Major League Baseball. They had two scheduled 7-inning games, a doubleheader scheduled, both games scheduled for 7 innings. I'm going to leave it at that, let Adam take over, and I think this is where the podcast gets fun, I hope.
Yeah, that was like you said, very first in baseball history, 7-inning game, not caused by a rain delay, scheduled, like you said. Some people love it, some people hate it, and I think we have representation from both sides here tonight. And we know that because we had that group chat, like you said, and we started talking about it there. So we had to have Joe on because you guys don't exactly see it the same way.
Before we let Joe talk, because he's a lawyer and that's all he does is talk all day, I just want to let it be known that Adam couldn't represent himself in this argument. So he had to bring a lawyer, an actual professional lawyer onto the podcast to fight his side of the argument. And I still believe I've got the winning debate.
Listen, I got friends in high places. What can I say?
It is what it is. Joe, in mock trials in high school, how did you do? Were you guys like the all-time champ?
So my first trial freshman year, I won best attorney for my trial locally, and then we went on to state. So from there, results weren't as good as that first year, but no, we were pretty good at McNick. If
I'm not mistaken, you were the president of the what was it, Xavier? You're the president of the there was some kind of specific attorney group of people that you were the president of. Let them know where you're from. Let them know your background.
I'm an East Sider, way East Sider. In fact, West Claremont.
Sorry.
Grew up in the East Gate area.
Claremont, good. That's way East Side. That's way past the bad East Side.
Way East Side. Outside the 275 loop.
He's almost in Mount Orb. my man.
I'm not that
He's,
far.
he's Batavia. We're talking Batavia.
Yeah. Well, Eastgate. So before Batavia, but Eastgate, St. Veronica Vikings for grade school, Archbishop McNicholas High School, the Rockets for high school, and then stayed locally. Went to the University of
North
undergrad, and then went to behind what I like to say behind enemy lines for law school at the University of Cincinnati.
Gotta do what you gotta do. Gotta do what you gotta do. All right, so I don't know how you want to start this because we started this in our text group about 7 innings, and Joe was trying to bait me into making this argument for the last 2 days, and I refused to because I wanted to save it for today. So, Adam, I'm going to let you decide how we get this thing started because I'm ready to go whenever you are. I feel like Joe should get first.
I want to clarify something Adam said. Adam said, yes, for the first time in baseball history, 7 innings. Well, are you saying the first time in Major League Baseball history or the whole entire history of baseball? Because I think that's a really important part to start on.
See, here we go, dude. Adam, I told you, this is what happens when you bring a pro in. This is what happens. We start getting minutia dropped in. Come on, man. Let's go. Major League Baseball.
From what I understand, yeah, Major League Baseball, they have never scheduled 7-inning games, right? I think Chris said that well.
Okay, well, not to be cliche, I think before we discuss where we might go with the game, we have to first talk about where we've been. So what's interesting is that my research has revealed that baseball, when it was created, in fact, you actually played to a certain number of runs. And I think at the time it was called aces. And coincidentally, most of those games averaged about 6 or 7 innings, just to throw it out there. And then in the middle of the 19th century, so yes, a long time ago, a group of guys got together and said, you know what, how many players should play in the field? And they said, some guys said 7, some guys said 9. And for some reason, the ones that said 9 won out. And so they said, okay, so we got 9 players in the field. Our lineup card's going to be 9 players. So I guess we got to stick with the number 9, and we got to play 9 innings. So that is how they landed on 9 innings. It was the most arbitrary decision in sports history, other than maybe 18 holes in golf.
Can we agree that that everything has to start somewhere, and whether you're playing 4 quarters of basketball, 5 guys on a court, whether you're playing I don't know who plays in cricket. I don't know the cricket rules. I don't know the soccer rules. I think it's 11, right? 11 guys, 2 45-minute halves. We got to agree that everything starts somewhere, right?
Correct. I agree with that.
Okay. Continue.
So I agree that it was important to bring that up, though, to so that we know
that I brought up that everything starts somewhere, right? That was important.
Everything starts somewhere, but this started somewhere just randomly. Just there was no reason. There was no reason.
Guys on board. If we're going to talk about that, then where randomly did we come up with 5 men on a basketball court?
Well, that's it. That's the same thing, though. So I don't know. Dr. James Naismith came up with it.
As long as it said that it's the same thing, I'm good with that. Continue.
I think the reason why I go to the history of the game is because I think from where I'm sitting, the leading argument from anyone for 9 innings seems to be, well, that's just what we've always done. Well, that's just not true. And there's this nostalgia about, well, we have to keep 9 innings. Well, the game wasn't created for 9 innings. In fact, the game was created in such a way to emphasize and highlight offense. That's why it was played to a certain number of runs. And I think –
So do you know – so since you've been on the history side of things, how long have we been playing 9 innings?
For a very long time, since like the mid-19th century.
Okay. Which you got to help us out. What does the 19th century mean? Is that the 1800s?
So like the 1850s-ish.
Okay. I'm just making sure we understand the time frame that we're all going about. I mean, we're almost talking about cavemen here, right? Cavemen used to beat things over the head. They'd hit a rabbit in the head. Now we got then there was traps. Then there was, a bow and arrow, and then a rifle. We've got lots of things happen over time. But so it evolved. The game evolved, just like everything else, into what is best, which is they figured 9 innings is best, and we made it 9 innings. So go ahead and continue.
Well, I think another thing is, do we agree that the emphasis of baseball should be on offense, or should it be on defense? Should it be pitching? Because I think the reason why baseball has declined over the years is because pitching staffs have been inflated, too much emphasis on bullpens and closers. I mean, the closer position is the most overrated position of any sport, I think. And there's just not enough emphasis on offense. And I think the McGuire-Sosa, whether you want to see that as scandalous or like you want to see it as what saved the game, what it revealed is that baseball survives when there's offense. And this year after year of the pitcher, that is just ruining the game. So we got to get back to focusing on offense in the game and quit wasting our times in these late innings of focusing on relief pitching and closing.
Runs are being scored in over the last 10 years. Runs have been being scored at an all-time high. Offense, this has become an offensive game. Depending on what you want to say, whether starting pitching has gone down, whether people use their relief pitchers too much, the reason the bullpen has become such a big deal is because the offense has gotten so big in the game that you have to try to stop it. And they don't believe and they believe that sabermetrics will tell you and other things will tell you second and third time around in a lineup is when hitters start to pick up on a pitcher and they're going to hit a pitcher better. Therefore, the more pitchers you use, the more different arms out there, the less that offense is. So yes, you may want more offense, but in order to win the game, you need the other team to have less offense. Am I wrong about that?
Well, I'm glad you brought up offense because statistically, yeah, maybe overall there's more runs, but statistically, most of the offense occurs, again, coincidentally or not, within those first 6 innings. I mean, you see this huge drop-off every single year for the amount of offense once the four-seam fastball pitchers come in and the velocity goes up. And so I actually saw this and found it very interesting. I mean, there's an incredible amount of runs scored in the first inning of baseball games. And so most of the action that really matters to fans happens between the first and probably 6 innings offensively. From there, it's this silly game of bringing in all these relief pitchers to face one batter. That's why MLB introduced that weird rule where you have to face 3 batters this year.
Stupidest thing in the world.
And again, it's like, okay, well, as a baseball fan, I think the competitiveness occurs most in those first 6 to 7 innings, and I just don't see the value in having those last 2 innings.
So why do you feel like the competitiveness dies down when there's less runs scored and it's more of a pitcher versus hitter role? That I feel like the competitiveness jumps up in those last 2 innings. You've got more of a standstill. I feel like the competitiveness is less in the first. If they're scoring more runs in the first 7 innings, then it's not as competitive. Where the competitive nature comes in is when there's less runs and it's more hitter versus pitcher, different hitter, different pitcher, different, and that comes into the effect. Does that, Adam, does that make sense?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like though that if you plan to play 7 innings, that same if it's a 1-run game at the end of in the middle of the 9th and you're going in the bottom of the 9th and you need a run or it's tied or something like that, you need a run to win. That same situation is going to be just as exciting if you're playing 7 innings and you're going into the bottom of the 7th.
Or if you play,
whether you play 7, 9, 11,
you might
15
have
innings.
your starting pitchers may only pitch 3 innings. And then you've got a bullpen coming in to try to lock down the last 2.
That's another thing that I was thinking about when Joe was talking about that is they've been trying for the last few years to figure out ways to speed up the game because people are getting tired of sitting there for 3.5 hours watching baseball. So that's one thing. I mean, obviously cutting the number of innings down would be, but that means that you would have to spend less time. And that's why they've limited the number of mound visits and stuff like that to try to help with that. But you wouldn't need any more you wouldn't need as many mound visits because you know, if your starter goes 6 or 7 innings, that's pretty much the whole game. You might bring a reliever in.
Well, would the starter continue? It's like anything else. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, starters went longer. There was still the same amount of innings, but the statistics show different things for them to bring relievers in to try to stop runs from being scored. So if we end up doing this, right, and you end up deciding we're going to go 7 innings, in 20 years, we're going to go, why are we playing 7? Jeez, Pete, there's still 5 pitchers being thrown in 7 innings. It's going to continue in that same – what makes you think it won't continue in that same trajectory down of pitchers seeing the amount of hitters? Because that's the thing that seems to be the overall case for most of these managers is how many times through the order do they get to see your starter? So if their batting average is 0.6 or whatever after the first time around the order, and then a little bit higher after the second time they see him, and then the third time it jumps up to 2.2, 280 batting average after the third time around. Who's to say they won't continue that and just keep bringing in pitchers just earlier in the game?
Well, I think this week proves it. I mean, how many nights did you sit on your couch tonight and think, why are you pulling the starter right now? I mean, I think that is the best evidence for why it won't happen. We're all yelling at the TV of why, the Reds starters are getting pitched after only 6 innings. I think that evidence alone that ain't going to happen. We want starters to stay in that long.
Sure.
So I don't know. I kind of liken it to, if we want to talk, let's go to college basketball. You're facing a team with a good center and you start pounding it inside. You finally get that center to get like 4 fouls, maybe, midway through the second, half. Well, now you've completely changed the game. And now, the strategy's worked. Well, bringing in the relief pitcher is like all of a sudden saying, oh, you know what? At the 10-minute mark in the second half, their starting center gets a reset of all their fouls. It's like –
I disagree. It means you have somebody else on the bench that you can bring in. You're doing the exact same thing if your bench is strong enough in college basketball, you can bring 1 or 2 more guys off the bench to take over those fouls. If your bench is good enough in baseball, then your bullpen will carry on. If your bench is not good in basketball, then you don't have anybody to bring in to sub in. As a Xavier fan, we know how that is. There are times where we just don't have any other big men to bring in. In baseball, as Reds fans, we know there's just times you don't have a reliever that you feel you have the faith to bring in.
Yeah, I just think baseball just completely alters the competitiveness at that stage in the game for no reason other than to get outs. I think the game should be focused on scoring runs and filling up innings with meaningful action.
You're such a lawyer. There's no energy. It's just point after point after point. Just say your thing. I don't get anything out of it. Here's the deal. I got one for you here. All right. Joe, as well as anybody else, because you're probably the biggest Nosebleed Sports supporter of the podcast. So that I'm a very big LeBron James fan, right?
Right.
There was a point in time where LeBron was in Miami and the end of his career, the end of his first stint in Cleveland, where the joke was if you give LeBron $1 and asking for change, you're only going to get 3 quarters. Right?
Right.
So I
It's
feel like as a Red fan, I feel like I'm going to leave that go. I feel like as a Reds fan today, with the absolute best, literally, they have the best ERA in all of baseball when it comes to starting pitchers, and the worst ERA in baseball when it comes to relief pitchers. It is so easy to try to make this argument of 7 innings of play. Could you ever imagine somebody making an argument in basketball of, I think we should only play 3 wouldn't be quarters, obviously, 3, whatever you want to call it, trimesters or whatever, instead of 4. 3 12-minute deals. Shortens the game, whatever, if you want the game shortened, which I don't, but all the things. And it's easy to say, if you're a LeBron fan early, he's always up by 15 going into the 4th. There you go. So my thought process is this just because you're a Reds fan that you feel this way?
No, I mean, honestly, the LeBron thing isn't that it's not like he runs out of gas in the 4th quarter. It's that he just has, for some reason, this thing that turns off during what's called winning time. So even if you went to 3 quarters, the last so many minutes of that 3rd quarter, that new end of the quarter, he would just, do his normal avoid the free throw line crap that he does and be scared to take winning free throws and, facilitate, because that's what the terminology is these days for him at the end of games. And, it doesn't matter. I mean, when it comes to winning time, he just freezes up a little bit.
Number 1, totally disagree. Number two, I feel like that's the exact point that I'm making with baseball. You get to the end of a game and things have evolved to where you feel like you need something different at the end of a game, and you need something different from LeBron. LeBron is phenomenal throughout the regular part of the game. Not my words, everybody else's words. He's phenomenal. When it comes to the clutch, you're winning the game and you need a stopper. You need a clutch guy to get you a bucket. Some people say LeBron's not your guy. Some people say you need a different type of mentality to come onto the mound in that case. Who's to say this would change anything in baseball if we shorten the game?
Yeah, but why do you need that? I mean, Michael Jordan didn't say, "Hey, I'm out. Scotty, take over. Thanks. I'm good. Yeah, I got food poisoning. I got food poisoning. I'm going to sit this one out."
You can't compare you can't compare anyone to Michael Jordan. That's like saying, okay, hey, you know what? Well, Cy Young pitched, I don't even know what it is. He pitched, 700 complete games in his career, which is not that many, but it's 200 complete games in his career. That's never going to happen, right? Things evolve. It's just not going to happen.
I think that it would benefit teams and it would help speed up the game because you wouldn't make as many pitching changes for teams like the Reds, which I'm sure is why you asked him if he feels like that way because he's a Reds fan. And this year, yes, because their starting pitching is so good. And for any other team that the starting pitching is so good, that's going to benefit those teams. And you're probably right, Chris, for teams that are have terrible pitching staffs. I'm not saying you're right about the whole thing. I'm just saying.
I'm writing it down right now.
You're probably right in the fact that it might not change much. You might still have just as many. You might have as many. I'll sign that next time I see it. You might have just as many pitching changes in 7 innings for really bad pitching staffs as you do right now in 9 innings. It might just be that way. But those don't matter much anyway because those teams are losing every day and they're not going to mean much for you for playoff baseball, which is what we're working toward every day, right? So it would benefit some teams more than others. and it would speed up games more than others. I think it just depends on what kind of team you have.
But it's apples and oranges, Chris. I mean, take the Heat, for example, Jesus Shuttlesworth didn't come off the bench and hit that, game-winning three. Chris Bosh didn't come off the bench in the last couple minutes and make a, big rebound to kick it to Ray Allen. I mean, those guys played. They started the game. They all played.
Sure.
The starters that started the game, for the most
Yeah.
part, are, in many ways, usually the guys that are there to close it out. So,
I agree with you. I agree with you there. I agree with you there to where my point may not be exactly apples to apples.
I mean, every day before a
The
game,
point that I wanted to make was,
what do you look at? You look at the lineup card, the starter. You kind of, I don't know. You're not looking at who's available in the bullpen.
You also get to bring guys in and out of the game as many times as you want to in basketball too.
True.
So it'll never be an apples to oranges comparison. It's impossible. The biggest thing I want to press though is, could you imagine playing college basketball? Well, not college basketball. Could you imagine playing the NBA with 3 trimesters? I can't think of any other better word than trimester, but that can't be right?
You just play halves. I mean, college does 2 20-minute halves. I mean, I think there's a legitimate argument for the NBA not to play 12-minute quarters. I don't know. I mean, I don't really care. It doesn't bother me.
But they're not going to play a different amount of time. It's not going to happen. They're not going to play a different amount of time. Even if you bring them into 2 halves, they're not playing a different amount of time. They're going to play the same amount of time. And you get to sub as often as you want in basketball. So it's not necessarily apples to oranges there either. It's the fact that this is how much time they play. This is how long their game is. The NHL has played 3 periods. There you go. Periods. Hey, it's the NHL. Just think about it, ding dong. Anyway, the NHL has played 3 periods for, I can't even tell you how long because I don't know anything about the NHL. Major League Baseball has played 9 innings for 200 and however many years.
Not quite.
What gives us, what is it, 150 years? However many you want to make it.
Yeah, like 100, call it 170.
Okay, 170, 250, 170, it's all the same. You get over 75 years, it's all the same. Either way, the point is that is the game of baseball. That is what Major League Baseball is. That is the length of the game is what everything is based on in the history of the game. Name one other sport that has changed that part of their game. There's always rules changes, always. Come up with another sport that has been around for even 100 years that has changed that part. Tennis has a certain amount of sets. Soccer has a certain amount of periods or has the 2 halves. The NHL has the 3 periods. Why is it okay for baseball? Because all of a sudden everybody thinks it's boring because we've got social media and we need everything right now, so moving, and it's a little bit slower moving of a game. Why do we have to do that now?
I don't think, first of all, it doesn't matter what any other sport has done. And that's the thing. Like, I think that's what Joe brought up to begin with. And that's the thing. That's what I keep for anybody that has a problem with any rule changes or anything, for the reason that that's the way it's always been done. That's what you have to have something better than that, because that's the way it's always been done. And it's
okay with rule changes though.
But that's all this is though. I mean, that's all this is too, is a rule change basically. I mean, it's not,
this is bigger than a rule change. This is the length of the game. Every sport, every game has the length of a game. That's start to finish. It's been there for a long time.
If you're playing 9, why not play 10 or 11? Why not make it that?
I would love that. I'd play 15 innings if we could.
I
I'd play 15 innings every day.
Let me ask you
But
this, because it's good. I'm glad Joe brought up that because I didn't know that they first started out playing to a certain number of runs. You can't do that because tonight's Reds game was 2-0. If you play first team to 4 innings, it might take you 77 innings to get there. But so you can't do that. What about if they want to really change how the speed of the game, and maybe the speed of the game doesn't pick up, but what about putting a time limit on a game? What about making it, and I know, Chris, you're going to say no, but what about making it 2 hours and 15 minutes for a game, and it's done? Whoever's winning at that point, it's over. Or 2:20 or 2:30, whatever they decide it is.
What if I told you that you're watching a NBA game and it's 110 to 110 at the end of regulation, and they go into overtime, and then it's 122 to 122, and they go to a third overtime. And right now, I've got goosebumps just talking about this. Like, this makes me excited.
Yeah, I love overtime basketball too, man.
All night to watch this, right? I want this all night. And then I said, you know what? Actually, the game ended back at 102 and 102 because it was an hour. It was 2 hours and 12 minutes long, and we stopped it.
But isn't that the Elam ending? Isn't that the Elam ending that they're experimenting with the TBT tournament?
I have no idea. But the thing that it brings to me is the All-Star game. I like an exhibition game. It makes the All-Star game fun for me to kill everything and say, all right, here's the score we're going to play to.
Yeah,
at the end of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's the Elam ending.
Okay, so 3 straight games. I'm good with that. In an exhibition game where nobody takes it seriously and the game means absolutely nothing. In an actual game, I don't like that because basketball's played a certain way. You play basketball for this amount of time, and the winner at the end of that time is the winner, not you play 3 quarters and then, okay, this is the score we get to. First one to there wins. Absolutely not. That is, for a game where it's 200 to 200 after 4 quarters because nobody gives a care, nobody plays defense, sure. But in real life basketball, you can't tell me, Adam, that you like that.
Well, again, did you guys watch the TBT tournament at all?
Did not.
I mean, those are real games. I mean, they were playing for $1 million. And basically what they did was, I think it's like the first stoppage after 4-minute mark in the fourth quarter, they essentially add so many points to the leading score, and that's what you have to hit.
It's what they did in the All-Star game.
Yeah, and it was amazing. I mean, it was amazing. And again, it really makes you think of like.
But it's not basketball, Joe. That's not basketball.
What do you mean? I mean, I've got a basketball court in my back hoop. I don't put up a clock and play 4 quarters. We play by 1s and 2s and play the first of 21, win by 2. I mean, that's how
Joe,
you play.
I hate to tell you this, brother, but you play.
That's how they play at Rucker Park. I mean, who's to say that basketball is a clock? I mean, I think more people play basketball to a certain score in the world than they do based upon 4 quarters and a clock.
Recreationally, yes, they do. Professionally, absolutely not. When I'm playing recreational ball, I'm playing you in your backyard. We're playing to 10 because God knows nobody wants us to play for 2 hours of basketball. Although getting to 10 might take us 2 hours. There's a huge difference in rec ball and professional ball. And what you do as a kid trying to get better as to what a professional does on an everyday basis for their job.
Let's take it back to baseball. So you have, whether it's timed or you play a certain number of innings, there's a set point. It's going to stop after 9 innings. And to me, that's kind of the same. Like if you want to put but you just don't know how long it's going to take you to play 9 innings. And to your original your original reply to that question, you would still play overtime. You would still play extra innings. If you put a 2 hour and 15-minute time limit on a game and it's tied at the end of that, then yes, you play until you get until both teams get another chance to bat. And somebody is winning at the end of that next inning.
What I find interesting is that, I mean, I think we're all coming from the same place of wanting to preserve or save the sport. And from my perspective, the writing's on the wall. I mean, the league is putting in these goofy rules to try to speed up the game when, to me, the most logical thing they could do is just eliminate 2 innings. I mean, you've got the whole thing about, if it's tied after 9, we got to put a runner on second. It's like in softball where you
that'll never stick. That's the dumbest thing in the entire world.
That's why. So why not just do the most logical thing, which is just eliminate 2 innings? Or you've got, I mean, hockey did that too. So in hockey, they now they eliminate players on the ice. I forget how many. They go to like 5 on 5 or something for overtime to get that last point. I mean, all these different sports are considering the ones that are having issues with time.
But they still play 3 periods.
Yeah. The 3.
They didn't decide to just go 2 halves.
Yeah, 3 periods.
They still play 3 periods. All right, I was just making sure.
Yeah, but if you go to a hockey game, I mean, that is 20 minutes of constant action. I mean, I think hockey might be some of your best.
That's not fair. That's not fair. Because baseball's slower. Because baseball's been slow for how long is it? Tell me again. 150 years, 470 years, however many years it's been. Baseball's always been a slow game. It's a slow game to certain people, but there is always something happening in every player's mind. Things are always going on. And if you're watching a game, you can have something going on constantly. The action may not be as constant as you want it in this day and age because of where we're at, but baseball has been that way forever. And I know that I sound like old man baseball. Baseball's been that way forever. That's just how we do it. I don't care. I'm getting more okay with the DH. All right. Listen, I'll say I'm old man baseball, but I'm pushing the DH. I'm understanding, why do these guys that are just professional throwers of the baseball have to hit? I understand that. It's starting to make sense. On all for everywhere. I like it. I kind of still like it, but not having a DH, but it is what it is. But the length, like how long you play, the number of innings, every stat, every historical being that is baseball is based off of 9 innings. Everything is based off that. Now all of a sudden we're going to change it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I feel like at that point in time, with that sentence and your answer, I don't know that there is an in between.
But so, yeah, you won't be able to compare, you won't be able to compare Wade Boggs' numbers to, Ronald Acuna Jr.'s numbers at the end of his career if they changed it right now and kept it that way, 7 innings every game. Because yes, they're not playing the same amount of innings. Their career, Wade Boggs' career, is way longer over the same amount of years as Ronald Acuna Jr.'s if he plays the same amount of years, because Wade Boggs played that many more innings. But that just has to be the thing. Like baseball is not going to exist if people stop going. And I think that's the big thing. That's why they have to figure out a way to get more people engaged.
Do you really think people are going to stop going?
Well, that's why they're trying to do that, because less people are going, less people are watching. They're trying to connect to fans, to bring people back, and you have to make it more interesting for that. Because you're right. The game's always been slow, but the whole world is slower.
That doesn't speed the game up. That doesn't make the action any faster. The action there's no speed in the action by cutting 2 innings off.
Yeah,
the speed on the field doesn't change.
Correct.
And if that's what's killing baseball, you're not doing anything for baseball except just changing the world that we've lived in for 100 years.
The total amount of time you have to invest in it, that's the issue, I think. I think that's what they feel like is the biggest reason why people don't spend that. People don't throw. If you're going to a game, you're talking about 5 hours to leave, to go to the game, to find parking, to get down there, especially if you're taking a whole family. You're there for the game. Then you got to walk through the crowd and get back to your car and get home and all that. You're talking about an entire day, basically.
I love it. So great.
That's great. I love it too.
I really thought Chris, I thought that's where Chris was going to lead off, is that, hey, now beer sales will stop in the 5th inning of a 7-inning game.
I never even thought about it. I just threw my pencil. I don't have a pencil now to play with. God bless America. That'd be the worst thing in the world. What's the point of that? Why even go to a game if the beer sales cut off after 5?
Here's the last thing I have about this. Cutting 2 innings off the game, I think does way, way, way less to change the game than adding the runner at second to start the extra inning, and even worse than that is the 3-batter minimum. I think you're taking the strategy out of the game then. And I don't care if you take the strategy out of the game, then I think you're really changing baseball a lot more with the 3-batter minimum stuff than you are taking 2 innings away, because it's the same exact game you've always played, just 2 innings less. So more people are going to be willing to invest their time into watching a whole game.
Do you think so? People talk about how boring baseball is. That's the whole thing. Baseball is boring. If it was 3 innings, they'd be bored. They're bored in 3 innings. So what makes you think that 7 innings is going to be any less boring than 9 innings? What makes 2 hours any less boring than 2.5 hours?
Well, because statistics say the offense all occurs the 1st inning and through the 6th inning. Then there's this huge drop off.
The offense might occur, but no matter what, the competitive nature that comes to the end of any game, whether it's baseball, whether it's basketball, football, I know those are timed sports, and that makes things a little bit different, and I totally understand that. I know that, there's no time left in this game. We have to score. We have to do this. But in baseball, there's no more innings left in this game. We've got to score. We've got to do this. I don't see how I totally feel like at the end of the game, there may be less runs scored, but the competitiveness of the game, what draws you in to the competitiveness of the game is higher at the end of the game because there's less offense.
And that might happen in the 7th inning now instead of the 9th inning. And then you go.
Now we're not playing baseball. Now we're playing college baseball. Now you're just playing a college baseball game or a rec league softball game.
See if it's good enough.
That's like playing a backyard basketball game and saying that's a professional basketball game.
Well, what's the rule on weather? What's the minimal innings for them to call a game because of weather?
5 innings, right?
Yeah, I mean, we all live with that.
Yeah, because Mother Nature takes over.
Yeah, but we don't say that game was illegitimate. I mean, that was enough.
Well, I still feel like a lot of that is illegitimate. We just have to deal with it because Mother Nature. And it's not always called there. If it's an important game, they will continue that game on at a later point. If that game is to decide who wins the National League Central, they will play that game. They will finish that game before they continue their next game of the series or something like that at the end of the year. So yeah, I still don't feel like that equates.
I guess I don't buy the notion that there's going to be all these statistical categories all of a sudden eliminated. I mean, ERA is ERA. It's going to be statistically based upon however many number of innings you pitch. I mean, starting pitchers, we already say a quality start is 6 innings. Well, I'm not eliminating 6 innings. I'm saying 7. Closers can come in the 7th inning and close. I'm really talking about eliminate Michael Lorenzen's position. I want Michael Lorenzen out of a job. That is what I'm talking about with eliminating
100% going back to my original argument of, as a Reds fan right now, today, this is why you're making the argument. Michael Lorenzen was everyone's favorite Red for 3 years. And then this year, he sucks off the face of the earth, and nobody wants 7 innings. Get rid of his job. No, I think that's I can't do that, and I understand that there are pitching stats such as ERA that comes down to earned runs per inning pitched. I understand that. That makes total sense. That's not going to be affected. There are 7,000 different stats more than that are based off of a full 9 innings. The biggest stat in all of sports for 1920, so for 75 years was 62 home runs, or really 60 home runs, 61 home runs for Babe Ruth back in the 20s, but put it into 62 and 62 for Roger Maris till 2007. So 50 years. The biggest stat in all of sports was home runs in a season. Call me old-fashioned, call me whatever you want. Things like that change, and that still means something. Like there is something to the history of the game that means something. Whether you want to change it because of the times and because of social media and the now factor of the world and the go, I still feel there's a little bit that needs to pull back and say, you know what, maybe we do need to slow down. Maybe we do need baseball to slow us down. I realize, obviously, I'm old man baseball right now. I know that. Okay, I know that. But that is baseball. 162 games, 9 innings a game. You get extra if it's tied. Every statistic outside of earned run average is and on base percentage and batting average. Every other statistic is based off of that. For a season long or career long stat is based off of that.
So it is total. It'll be total numbers, and yes, those records aren't going to go anywhere. They're not going to be marked from the record books or anything like that. You'll just have new ones. Baseball is divided. People talk all the time into different eras. So I mean, you're just in the next era. You're not in the live ball era anymore. Now you're in the 7-inning era or whatever. There will just be new records.
That's a different. That's not the same though. Live ball era, dead ball era, the Coors Field era, whatever you want to call it, juiced era, whatever you want to call it era wise. None of those.
The gun scared me for a second.
Look out for the guns. None of those are affected by the actual length of the game that has never changed.
Well, they added the 3-point line in basketball, and I mean,
apples to oranges. Don't start doing this again. We're gonna have to have Adam say apples to oranges.
But that's legitimate though, because
all right, so that's the DH.
Do you question the scoring records? Do you question
the 3-point line is the DH? I'm good with that.
I mean,
why not? You get 9 batters in a game. How many shots do you take in a game? And how many of them are threes compared to 2s? Obviously, it's changed way more lately, but it's more offense. DH brings in more offense. Throw the DH in. I'll take it. That's your 3-point line.
That's only in the American League. So I mean, you don't really talk about.
I'm good. Bring it in the National League. The DH is not going anywhere. The DH is locked in. We're done. We will never see a pitcher hit unless it's Michael Lorenzen pitch hitting or Shohei Ohtani hitting every game except for the day before and after he pitches. That's it. That's done. I'm good with that. The DH is here. That's the 3-point line. I'm good with that.
But for years you've had the DH in the American League, but you don't talk about at the end of somebody's career that pitched almost exclusively or completely exclusively in the National League versus somebody who pitched exclusively in the American League. You don't really talk about that when you compare, like Hall of Fame pitchers. Like Randy
Well,
Johnson probably
it's
spent
almost
most of
one
his time
tenth
in
of
the.
it's almost 1/10 of the order. So when it comes to pitchers, I don't feel like it makes that. I don't feel like 1/10 is a big enough sample size to change everything for you. I do believe that American League pitchers are looked at completely different than National League pitchers because they have to pitch to a full. I feel like that's been for a very long time, where it's harder to pitch in the American League than it is the National League. I 100%. I don't think that's ever changed. I don't think that's ever been a thing where they're equal. Like I don't. That's not equal in any way, shape, or form. Even though it's only 1/10. But at the same time, when it comes to a full game and the way that the game is played, you can bring the DH in, and I don't feel like that is anywhere near equivalent to changing 2 innings of a baseball game.
So what if they keep that 3-batter minimum?
It's the dumbest thing in the entire world.
It's the speed of the game, right?
Should have never done it this year.
I mean, if they keep that, don't you feel like you're getting cheated out of baseball more than you would if you had more than you would if you took 2 innings away?
I feel like I'm being cheated equally.
Okay.
That's 2 more batters than you have to pitch to. It's 2 more innings than I should have had. Okay. I can't make that. I can't say yes or no to that just right now. I dislike 3 batters more than I dislike 7 innings. I will say that without a doubt. I feel comfortable with that. I hate 3-batter minimums. I hate that. I really, really dislike 7 innings of baseball being a permanent thing. I did enjoy the 2 7-inning. I enjoyed that. Cool. I like that. I'd even be okay if you said, all right, it's a doubleheader, 2 7-inning games. That's what doubleheaders will be. I can live with that just because if I was a baseball player, that is way too long. I feel like there's almost Joe as a corporate lawyer. I feel like they almost have a reason to be able to sue because that's almost 18 hours of your life that you're giving up to a doubleheader to work. So I can agree with something to that extent, but I can't agree with it to all out all the time. Can't do it. I feel like I just gave in. I feel like Joe as a lawyer is about to jump on me and just squash me like a bug. And I kind of feel like Jack Nicholson and you are Tom Cruise. That's kind of how I feel right now. I don't know what that Navy movie was or whatever it was.
A Few Good Men.
Yeah, A Few Good Men. That's how I feel like right now. I should have never said that.
No, I mean, to me, I think the writing's on the wall. I mean, honestly, if the fans are filling up the stadium and we're staying for all 9 innings and loving every moment, maybe we wouldn't have this conversation. But I don't know. For the sake of the game, I just think they got to start.
Joe, do you think that the amount of people that are at a baseball game are going to change if they make it 7 innings?
Not in of itself, but if you buy the premise that making it shortened to 7 innings, it makes it more of a manageable family outing, makes the innings more meaningful and competitive because they matter more because there's less outs. and
How
you're going
many
to have
people
less
leave
at
after
bats,
5?
then
How
yeah,
many
I
people
think it could
leave after
increase.
5 innings or 6 innings or 7 innings or 8 innings or whatever, however many innings to beat traffic or for whatever reason?
Well,
You think
you
that's
see
going to
it.
change?
You see evidence of this in soccer, because the reason why FC Cincinnati is selling so many tickets is because you constantly hear parents say it is perfect. It's like 2 hours on the nose, in and out of a soccer stadium for a soccer match, and constantly parents are just citing that as that is perfect timing for me and my family to get in and out of a sporting event. And that, I mean, that's winning a lot of parents over.
All right. So as you speak, I'm sitting here pouring myself another cocktail. I can't, as an old man sitting here having a drink, I cannot think that that's the silliest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I don't like I part of me knows that you have to have fans to play the game, right? I know that. The other part of me knows that TV is taking over sports basically in general, whether it's football has seen less crowds in general, baseball obviously has, but that TV money ain't changing, right? The TV money keeps growing. So people are still watching. Contracts are still getting bigger. The money is still there. I understand if you go there, you don't want to be there for 5 hours. So don't be there for 5 hours. If you want to be there for an hour, be there for an hour. If you want to be there for 2 hours, be there for 2 hours. I used to look at people that left a baseball game before the 9th inning and thought, and turn my nose up to them. Like, that's ridiculous. Why would you not stay till the end? You know what? I'm an old man now. I don't leave baseball games early. But if you got to go, whatever. I don't care. Go. Leave. Xavier games. I got an old lady that's 90 years old, and if it could be a 30-point game with 30 seconds left, and if people start leaving, where you going? Where you going? You got early dinner plans? What you doing? What you doing? Like, this game's over, lady. Like, what do you care?
What part of the country is she from? That was an interesting accent.
She's from the
North College.
I don't know how to put lipstick on part of the country. I put lipstick on my nose,
that lady,
teeth, and my face, and I'm 90 years old, and I just want to yell into the person's ear that's in front of me, this guy, and say the craziest things in the world.
You know, what's interesting about baseball, Chris, is because I didn't really know this until they were having this argument about how long the season should be, because they brought up all the revenue numbers and just how much the gate revenue is important for regular season. I mean, the TV money apparently is really in the playoffs for baseball. And so that's why there was a lot of the negotiation was over how much of the revenue sharing is tied to the TV money in the postseason versus, how much is it the regular season, because you're not going to have so much gate revenue. And whereas football seems to be really focusing on the national TV deals, because they're aired on obviously like 12 and Fox and
sure. So, but with baseball, the only thing the players get in baseball in the playoffs is half of the gate. That's it in the playoffs. Before anything that's going on now and all that stuff. So, this year and before, when it comes to the playoffs, yes, the gate is huge. Before that, there's no say outside of the playoffs. There is no, you're paid off a season. There's nothing that is dictated in your contract that tells you how much you get paid based off the gate. That's all part of, so yeah, obviously the playoffs mean a big part. The gate of the playoffs are huge because what you're going to make in the playoffs is based off the gate. But before that, it's 100. I mean, I'm not going to say 100%, but it's largely still TV based.
Yeah, that's what I don't know is how much how much gate revenue, like this year, for example, how much the loss of gate revenue has impacted the budgets and ability to pay players this year. I don't
Apparently
really.
not that much, because Mookie Betts just brought in quite a pretty penny.
But that's exactly what the owners were citing for trying to get the players to take less money, because they weren't going to make any money because there weren't going to be any fans coming in. You get the TV money, but like Joe was saying, the TV money is a much bigger deal in the playoffs because advertising is so much more expensive.
And they get that TV money is not distributed among the players. The TV money in the playoffs all goes to the team. None of that goes to the playoffs. The only thing the players get is half of the gate. Once you get to the playoffs, it doesn't matter if you're Joey Votto or you're the 25th man, 40th man on the roster, or however many they – I don't even – that goes to show you. They expand it to 40 and then drop it back down to 25 playoffs. So if you're the 25th man on the roster, you're making the same amount based off half of the gate in the playoffs. But you're playing for something different at that point. Your season, your salary has nothing to do with that. I wouldn't say nothing. I can't say nothing.
Yeah, but your
almost nothing to do with it. If you play for the Florida Marlins, do you think how many people come to the game make a difference on how much money you're making? Absolutely not. It's all has to do with what you're making TV wise, because nobody comes to your game anyway.
Yeah. And so maybe I am influenced by being the market that we are, being the Reds, and maybe a team like the Reds rely more upon gate revenue during the regular season for their year to year.
Here's the deal. I'm just going to say this right now. Joe, next time we have a spirited debate on text and then you come on to the Zoom, I'm going to need a little bit more yelling.
He's got to be calm, cool, and collected. He's got to do that for work, so I'm sure he's used to doing that. If you get all emotional and stuff, you lose credibility, right? Am I right, Joe?
That's right.
There we go.
That's why he's the number one defense attorney at McNick freshman year mock trials. Right there. That's it. Right there. You just saw it.
All right. We need to switch gears, and
thank you.
Because we wanted to get we don't want to keep Joe up all night, but we've got to get some soccer from him while he's here, because Chris and I, like you said up front, we just can't provide that for you. And I personally know at least 2 or 3 people that listen to this podcast consistently that are huge soccer fans, and
200 or 300
provide that for them. So very important. While we have a person who knows what he's talking about, we got to cover that.
So I think I'll use soccer to transition to the topic you really want to talk about, and that's the NBA bubble. What kind of frustrates me as a soccer fan is that right now everyone's acting like sports are all of a sudden back and that the NBA has everything figured out because they're doing this NBA bubble and they're all down there in Orlando. Well, guess what? Soccer has been down there for almost a month already. So I think soccer, the sport of soccer, should deserve credit because they're the ones that really figured this out. They're the ones that did a bubble tournament professionally and figured out how to do it safe for players, do constant testing. And honestly, the MLS has just had weeks upon weeks of zero players testing positive for COVID, but also internationally. I mean, if we hope to have fans in stadiums, or if we hope to see our teams play in stadiums, kind of like what they're doing in Major League Baseball, you got to look at European soccer right now. I mean, they've finished up a regular season with teams traveling constantly to other stadiums. They're doing these continental tournaments right now, and they're doing them successfully. Players are safe. People aren't getting COVID. And so, again, soccer is kind of leading the way on how to get back to playing sports safely. And hopefully we can get back to having fans in the stands. Remarkably, there was a soccer match played last month in Kentucky. Louisville FC played a soccer match with fans. I think they had their supporters groups able to attend the game. But again, soccer leading the way. Soccer leading the way, getting us back safely to sports. And then shout out to FC Cincinnati. They got 6 points down in Orlando, 1, 2 of 3. The first match did not go very well against Columbus. Columbus has kind of been owning us, but I didn't really know what it was like to be a Dayton basketball fan until watching FC Cincinnati beat up.
So well played. So well played.
But we can talk NBA bubble because the NBA players showed up after the MLS players, and hopefully they've learned a thing or two and improving upon what MLS has done down in Orlando.
Before we get to that, I would like to kind of to touch on that soccer thing because I feel like they're slow. Like NBA obviously is getting the attention, right? However many days it's been since they've had a positive, and from anybody that's been inside, and it's been all good things, right?
3 weeks now, I think, without a positive test.
There you go. So, and when it comes down to it, it's not even the MLS. It's European soccer. And you can bring this into a political thing if you want and say that there are certain other countries that just take it a little bit more seriously than we do. And that's a big reason why they're able to do things like this. But when it comes down to it, you're right, Joe. Soccer, I have no problem with saying soccer 100% has led the way. I wouldn't even put the NBA next. I put golf next. I say soccer, golf, then the NBA, because golf they've been playing golf just as long, if not longer, than European soccer has been playing. And I mean, they're 6 tournaments in right now. I mean, we're getting ready to play a major here pretty soon. The NBA is fantastic and has done a phenomenal job. But before we get too far overboard, it is good to think about some of the lesser sports out there that don't get the American credit that they should. Soccer, golf. I'll golf clap for you right here. I got your golf clap.
Golf is a totally different sport, though. Way, way, way easier to social distance and do what you're supposed to do with golf. You can't do that with soccer. You can't do that with basketball. So definitely.
No. I totally agree with that. But I'm just saying when it comes to sports in general, there are sports that are outplaying and you're out there. I mean, listen, golf in the Cincinnati area has not shut down. You've been able to play golf. I played golf on Christmas Eve. I played golf on, the day before Corona. I played golf a week into Corona. I have not stopped playing golf. But it's easier, sure. But there are sports outside of the NBA that have been playing. MLS may be a little bit more high profile because of the contact that still is going on with it.
That's why we talked about, Chris, you and I talked about this when baseball was trying to figure everything out. I didn't understand why they didn't just keep all the teams in the spring training areas and try to do bubbles there in Arizona and Florida. I mean, even in Florida, well, obviously even in Florida, because that's where the NBA is. And none of those guys, 343 guys or whatever it is, don't have it because they're keeping everybody else away. And I feel like baseball would have much better chance. Every Florida Miami Marlin has COVID now, and now half the Cardinals have it. And it's blown up now kind of in baseball, and your already condensed schedule is going to get blown out of the water even more because, they're still traveling.
It's over. I'm going to tell you guys right now, and I'll put 2 minutes of comedy live on the podcast up on this. There will not be a Major League Baseball season, which sucks for me because I said Aaron Judge was going to be the MVP, and my man is on fire.
I disagree. I think they're going to finish up. I mean,
How, Joe? Because there's no possible way everybody can play the same amount of games. It's
I
impossible.
think they'll just start forfeiting games. I don't know. I think they want to get to the playoffs. The amount of money on this playoff TV deal is going to be insane. And that's what's driving everything is
You can't get teams to the playoffs? Then
We'll
how are
find
the
it.
playoffs
So,
even going to
so
make
look
it?
at soccer. Soccer is a good example. So even though, we gave soccer a lot of credit, there were irresponsible teams. I mean, 2 teams could not play in the MLS's back tournament because they didn't do what they needed to do ahead of the time, whether it be quarantining, getting testing. So 2 teams, it was Nashville and I want to say, I think FC Dallas maybe. I mean, they just said, nope, you can't play. You can't play. And they just realigned the groups and they just said, you know what, that's just how it's going to be. If teams have to leave, then we're going to roll with the punches. And I think that's what they'll do in baseball. They'll come up with a way to keep whatever teams are being responsible. They'll make sure they get in the playoffs and they play games.
Joe, are you in? Let's do this. I feel like we should have – I feel like Joe should be in on this bet. I feel like 2 minutes of silent comedy on the podcast. I feel like Joe should be on this. I say we forfeit the randomness of our 3 teams or 4 teams that we have in the playoffs, and we just go to, will there be an end to the MLB season that includes playoffs and a World Series?
Yeah, I guess the question is, will there be a World Series champ crowned? And I would say yes. Now, again, in fairness, I could totally see them getting a point where maybe they finish the regular season and they say, you know what, best record, they're the World Series champ. So that might happen. Again, they're going to do whatever they can to keep games going, even if that means.
Okay, so let's say this. Let's do this. Joe, are you prepared to make a Nosebleed Sports Podcast wager? We're not going to do – well, we can figure something out. But a Nosebleed Sports Podcast wager on will there be a World Series?
Yeah. Most of my wagers, though, involve wild mics, which ends up being good whether you win or lose. But
yeah, unless you get the –
I'm pretty sure Joe's
stupid hot wings.
Stupid hot.
Joe was the reason that we did Stupid Hot. I'm pretty sure he was the one who suggested it.
Yep.
Originally, when Adam had to eat the Stupid Hot wings.
And stupid was exactly right. That's exactly what it was.
So I feel like, Adam, me and you are on the same side on this. We don't feel like there's going to be a World Series play. No, there might be a champion, but I don't feel like there's going to be a World Series that's ever played. Adam, I might have spoke out of turn for you.
I think there still could be, because I think there's language written into that agreement that they made that says we're prepared for everybody to not play the same amount of games. Like, there's something that says if it's, whatever happens, if we have to adjust to put people to start the playoffs and not the same, not everybody's played the same amount of games, that's okay. And in the playoffs, honestly, if you start a playoff series and in the, before game 2, 16 Reds come up with negative or with positive COVID tests, they're either going to have to bring 16 new players in and finish that series, or they're going to have to say, you know what, the Reds are playing the Braves right now. The Reds can't field this, can't field a team. The Braves advance. That could be –
yeah, and that'll be hard to swallow for a lot of fans, but I think they'll just do it.
Screw it. Let's make the bet. Let's go. What's the bet? Come on.
Yeah,
I say no World Series.
There's going to be a World Series. There will be a World Series.
All right. I say there's not going to be a World Series. We got to have something out here. Adam, me and Joe, what do you got?
I mean, if you want to do Wild Mike, you want to do a Wild Mike's bet?
Are we going to
do Stupid Hot Wings since I've already done that?
Are we going to do Stupid Hot Wings? Are we doing Stupid Hot, or are we doing some crazy number like you got to eat 40 wings in a certain amount of time?
Oh, my God. 40 wings?
I couldn't eat 4 of those stupid hot wings. I couldn't eat 4 of anything.
How about 10? You want to do 10 stupid hot? You want to do 10 stupid hot? I hate hot. I am so terrible with hot.
10 stupid hot.
Wow.
I'm gonna have to like quadruple my omeprazole for the week.
I did like 4 or 4.5 or something like that.
We did. We bought 5. You bought 4. Yeah, we bought 5. You beat 4.
You know what?
The bet was 4. You had to buy 5 was the minimum.
Okay. The bet was 4?
Yeah, the bet was 4.
You guys are way tougher than I am, so you guys might be able to stomach 10.
I'm just confident, I guess.
Oh no. I am not in any way tougher. My stomach is the weakest of anyone on this Zoom call right now, guaranteed.
I want some wings now.
I just had them tonight. I just had Wild Mike's tonight. It's Wild Mike's Wednesday, dude, you know. But I go Mike's mixed medium. That's how I roll.
Extra wet.
Oh, no doubt. Because especially you got to say extra wet now. Shout out to Wild Mike's. I love y'all. But when I get takeout and I get Mike's mixed medium, don't just like drizzle that medium oil on them. Like, give me some Mike's mix, right?
Because you're not there to complain about it. You're going home with those things.
Yeah, so I used to get a side of Mike's mix. So there was during the COVID, during the heart, I guess we're in the heart of the COVID, but during the beginning of the COVID, Aaron and I would we would do a side. I say, I want my sauce on the side because y'all don't know how to put them on my wings.
So back to how the leagues will just start inventing ways to determine like who advances. I mean, the NBA is kind of crazy because they've got, like in the West right now, they've got, what is it, like 6 teams going for the last like spot or 2. And they have this weird rule where like if a team's within like 4 games of each other, that's not like determinative. They have to play a series or like a play-in game or something. Like that's what I mean. They're just going to come up with ways to determine who advances as they go.
The difference is the NBA's already got it put out there.
Yeah, true. That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Although I would be shocked if they don't have contingency plans already in place. I mean that's the point. Like Greg Popovich.
But I feel like they should already be out there because we're at the height right now, right? Like if there's ever a time that Major League Baseball should put out a contingency plan, it's literally right now, with 4 teams having to postpone 6 teams postponing games due to COVID, 2 teams for sure, if not 4, that have COVID problems inside the team. If there's not a time to release a contingency plan, this is it.
Yeah, but you don't want to show your hand unless you have to. They're just not gonna. You'll know what the plan is when they have to make a decision.
But even if it's not like inside playoffs, there's no chance the Marlins are going to be able to play the same amount of games as the Reds. There's no way. The Marlins are never going to be able to. I agree with that, but what I'm saying is, so the contingency plan should already kind of be out there.
I think they'll just forfeit those games. I mean, for all we know, Marlins might just forfeit the season.
If I was a Marlin, who was it? There was a Red that just got who was it that just got traded to the Marlins because they were having so many issues, and the Reds made a deal with the Marlins and moved a guy over there. And I was just talking to my dad about this. If I was that guy at Presco Park for the Reds, I would tell my agent, tell the Reds and tell the Marlins, I'm not playing this season if I move to the Marlins. It's just not happening. So rethink this deal before you make it, because I'm not going to play. Why would you even think about that? The Marlins can't keep anybody on a team, much less on their secondary team. So they're making moves to try to bring people in. Why, if you were a player, would you throw your career away to be a to do something like that.
It might be the opposite though for like fringe guys that want an opportunity to play Major League Baseball that may be minor league
They're going to
players
play
at
for
this
the
point.
absolute worst team in baseball because they don't even have a Major League Baseball team. They've literally got a double-A team walking out for them every single day. You're going to go play for that nobody's ever going to remember. You're never going to do anything for. You're never going to get to play at that lower level to develop yourself into the player you need to be to play at the major league level. You're going to forego all that to get your ass, sorry, pardon my language, to get your head kicked in. Shut up. To get your head kicked in and play for the Marlins and never be remembered again.
But it's the show. But it's the show. Everybody wants
the
to
show. And it's also about
It's
getting that Major League.
Though, but it's not this year, 2020. If you're in Major League Baseball, that's not the show.
Well, if all the NCAA players, opt out of this season, they called the three of us to go play for the Musketeers down the street, I think we'd all say yes, wouldn't we?
Whoa. You're talking about a bunch of rum-dums going to play Division I basketball as opposed to a bunch of very well could be professionals, not quite there yet, getting thrown into a professional level of baseball that is beyond anything any of us could ever even imagine.
Yeah, I was being silly.
But not those guys.
Okay, right. I know you were. I know,
but you're right. It's short.
If I had to answer your question, yes, in a heartbeat, I'm going and playing at the Cintas Center right now.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, though. It's short-sighted for some of these guys to – honestly, a lot of these guys should probably just opt out. Again, I don't know. It's easy for me to say that. You have to think about, like, what impact financially that has on them.
I would.
But some of these younger guys or even the older guys that just have a couple more years left, they probably – when people start opting out, I totally got it. I was like, that is such a, I think, smart decision for those people. So I don't hate on the people opting out. I actually think a lot more players should consider it.
Totally agree. And I agree with that.
We all know.
No, it's a lot about the financial part of it is you're still going to make, even though they're making way less money this year, you're still, if you're a minor league baseball player and you get an opportunity, even though you're going to get your brains beat in every day, you're still getting an opportunity to play Major League Baseball, and you're still making way more money than you're making in minor league ball.
Dude, Adam, you just made a point that we really didn't put into this is you think about professional athletes and you think of big money. But when it comes to minor league baseball, that is not big money. You're talking $24,000 to $40,000 a year, which when you compare that to a major league minimum of what was it, 475,000 or something like that, or 575.
Yeah, it's like 560,
whatever it is, like a year compared to whatever 20, 28, 30, whatever the minute, whatever the maximum is, what a minor league baseball player makes. Like, that's a big deal. So maybe that is a big deal for these guys, even if it is. Maybe that's another big reason why the not retroactive, but what's the word, Joe, for not all your money, but all your money divided by the same amount of games.
Like the pro-rata amount?
Prorated. There you go. Prorated number might be a huge deal for some of these lower minor league guys that get an opportunity maybe in Miami. I never really even thought of that. I just think how it could kill your career.
I think COVID's also exposed how often a lot of these players play hurt, or I guess not play hurt, but play not 100%. Because I think a lot of people have used the shutdown period to really get their bodies back to where they need to be. Whether that's they didn't do what they needed to do in the off season, or they just needed a little more time other than the normal off season to get their bodies back in better shape and healthy and really focus on themselves. Like like LeBron James, I mean, he's kind of been a health nut in his career, and you could tell he probably was using COVID to really focus in on his nutrition and health. So I think a lot of these guys were using that as an opportunity to really focus on things maybe they wouldn't normally do as much if there hadn't been a shutdown.
Zion Williamson, perfect example. That guy, he looks like a totally different basketball player. I mean, I'm not going to tell you that Zion Williamson was fat when he played at Duke or the beginning of this year in New Orleans, but Zion was thick, right? And he comes out of this in phenomenal shape. Don't get me wrong, his weight probably hasn't changed much. I mean, his weight is probably within that 5 pounds of where he was before, but he is in as good a shape as a 50-pound man, 270-pound man can be in. So yes, I totally agree with that. There are, especially in the NBA, you see a ton of it in the NBA and even in golf. I know we don't talk about golf, but Bryson DeChambeau, if any of you guys out there watch golf, I love golf, right? And I try to talk about it and I throw it in every now and then on the podcast. Adam pretty much cuts it down right away, but it is what it is. Bryson DeChambeau literally put on 40 pounds, and he's put on 40 yards or more of distance on his drive. He is driving the ball. He literally, it was 3 weeks ago at the Rocket Mortgage, I think it was. There was a 410 or 420 yard hole. That's a par 4, and he drove it to the fringe. Now he got a lot of help because it was firm, it was hot, it hit the fairway and rolled. But that is professional driving. These silly professional drivers that have extended shafts and all the illegal stuff you can't use in professional golf. That's stupid. That's ridiculous to think about something like that. But these people are putting they've taken the 4 months, 3 months that they've gotten off and put themselves, because they've got the money, they've got the time, and they've got the effort. And if you're a professional athlete, honestly, you're just putting in, you've got a ticker in your head, right? Most of them really are. They've got a different ticker. So the determination is different. And you're seeing it. James Harden looks like a different person. Like, it's
Nikola Jokic, same thing. He dropped a bunch of weight.
Yes.
Yep. Speaking of that, did you guys see Zion Williamson broke a club the other day? They're living exactly the same lives they're living because they have built a whole world down there for those guys in Orlando. Well, they're swimming, they're golfing,
they've got 6 golf courses that they can play on. I mean,
that nobody else is allowed.
Thing that these dudes are doing that they probably don't do that much of. I've seen four NBA players break the heads off of drivers because they don't know how to swing a golf club. I'll be honest with you.
That was the thing. When I saw the post, it said Zion Williamson breaks golf club, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's like hit a bad ball or something and just snapped his golf club in half. That's real strength. And then I saw the video, and he just holds up the club. I'm like, oh, the head just flew off. That's happened to me before, and I'm the weakest guy in the world.
Dude, there ain't much holding that thing on. If you smash it into the ground and it's hard as a rock around there, you're going to break it off. Especially if you're a 280-pound Goliath of a man.
Well, Chris, your man LeBron doesn't seem to like the bubble life, according to that article that came out. I don't know if it was yesterday. Just, not feeling the bubble life.
No. What player do you think there's somebody out there that likes it? Even though they've got 6 golf courses, and
a lot of guys saying it's fine.
That they're saying it's fine.
Yeah.
They're saying it's fine.
He just misses Savannah.
I have not heard a single player that has come out and gone, I love it. This is great. So the bigger profile you are, the more money you make, the more things you do as a person, the less you're going to like this, because you just can't do those things. And LeBron does more than anybody because I'm not even going to get into this because he's just that great.
Yeah, he can't film Space Jam 2 right now.
I feel bad for him. That's money. If I'm
Oh yeah, I feel so bad he's missing out on a few extra million.
Whoa. That is totally not fair. That is not fair in any way, shape, or form. I don't care how much money you make, whether you make $10,000 a year or $10 million a year. If you're going to joke around about, oh, he can't make a couple extra million. Yes, that is serious. That's a big deal, whether you're a billionaire or you're a 100,000-aire. That's a big deal.
So he did do something cool tonight during the Lakers game, even though the Lakers basically just, laid an egg and slept through half the game. He had a section of I don't know if you saw, they're doing like the virtual digital section of the fans, through Zoom or something. He had a section filled up from students from his school that he created. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
He also had Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne was in the audience.
Yeah, I saw Manu Ginobili in the audience at the Spurs game the other day. That was awesome.
Was he? That's cool.
That dude could still play. The tournament needs him. He could still play.
Oh, well.
Somebody should sign him.
I'll tell you right now, Joe, that there's nobody currently involved in this Zoom call that doesn't think Manu Ginobili could play in the league at the age of 50. Which I know is only like 3 years away for him, but
I love that guy. All right. Well, Joe, we only gave you like a couple minutes on soccer. You got anything else? I saw Portland won that game. Now, let me ask you one question. So Portland is the last team that FC Cincinnati played, right?
Yeah, that was the first. Yeah, so they made it through the group stage, faced Portland in the knockout stages. 1-1, had to go to PKs. PKs did not go very well for FC Cincinnati, and ultimately they had to, obviously got defeated in PKs.
So is Portland the team that? Sorry, is Portland a team that every time they score a goal, they take the chainsaw and saw the big log and all that?
Yeah, they're called the Timbers.
They're pretty good, right? I mean, that's a legit. They're always really good.
Yeah, they're usually one of the better teams. I would say last couple years not as good as there used to be, but this year obviously during this tournament they've made a run. And I guess most teams, if you're going to lose to anybody, you want to lose to the champ. So they'll now go to the finals, and the tournament means something. The team that wins gets a whole bunch of money, and they also get a spot in the CONCACAF Champions League, which is kind of unique to an American sport because you see it in European soccer where if you win a certain spot in your league, you then go to more of a continental tournament the next year, and you play that continental tournament the same time you're playing the next regular season. So it'd be like if every division winner in MLB then went off and played, division winners from, Mexico League, Canadian League, and a different kind of league the next year. So that's up for grabs too.
So let me ask you this question:
like Major League Baseball playing in the a Major League Baseball team, then putting themselves into the World Baseball Classic.
Yep. And what's odd, I guess, for most American fans when they see what soccer does is that you play that next year in between your regular season games. So you're playing in a tournament that you got into based upon last year's regular season results while you're also now playing another regular season at the same time.
That's a lot like what FC Cincinnati did before they were in the MLS, right? They played in what's the tournament? What's the tournament called where you could
Yeah, the
play?
U.S. They were in the U.S. Open Cup. That's where they made their
There-
big run. They made it to the
Yeah,
semifinals,
yeah,
while also playing the USL regular season.
right. And that was where they made their big push with Nashville and one other team, I think, Sacramento or somewhere like that, to try to get that next spot in the MLS. And that was a big push for them
Yeah, I mean
because
the
they did
club,
not have a good year in their league, but they played phenomenal in that tournament.
yeah, that Open Cup run was awesome.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So Portland won their game. It was a semifinal game. So like you said, they're in the finals. When your team, your home team, your favorite team, whether it's FC Cincinnati, Xavier basketball, whatever, when they lose to a team in a tournament in postseason play, do you then root for that team to win the whole thing because then you can say your team lost to the best team? Or do you root against that team because you're upset that they beat your team? Or do you not care at all?
I definitely don't root against the team unless I hate them. But no, yeah, I'm someone that'll say, hey, if you're going to lose to someone, you might as well lose to the champ, right? So, if Portland goes on to win it all, you could say, hey, we were playing well, and unfortunately we just played the hottest team in the tournament.
Joe, listen, I am totally for if that team goes on to win it all, I am going to let everybody know that we lost to the champs. That's the only reason we lost. We lost to the best team. That's who we lost to. But if I lose on a last-second fall-away corner bogus-ass three-pointer that just luckily goes in for the greatest team that I've ever seen step on a court in Xavier basketball history against Wisconsin, then yeah, I'm going to root against them no matter what.
Yeah,
for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I was rooting against Wisconsin too. Yep, I'm with you.
Go Gators. Go Gators, baby. Let's go.
Or if it's Duke, it just depends on who it is. Depends on who it is.
I totally blame Duke on Thad Matta. So I got no qualms against Duke at all. I totally blame that game against Thad Matta. The stupidest decision I've ever seen in my life. Miles should never have still been in that basketball game.
I don't know. He was the best, most dominant player on that court at that time. But I hear you. The way
Fourth foul with 5 minutes left against the greatest big man in college basketball in that time. Sheldon Williams, we go from being down 1 with 4 or 5 minutes left. Leave him in the game after getting his fourth foul. He gets his 5th on the free throw. He gets his 5th foul. He's gone. He's out. Sheldon Williams drops 8 in the last 5 minutes and beats the brakes off the Xavier Musketeers. Take him out, give him a 2-minute break. He just got his 4th foul, 5 minutes left. Take him out for 2 minutes, maybe even 3, because he was stopping Sheldon Williams. Totally blame that game on Thad Matta, not on Duke basketball.
Yeah, but he may have come back in down 6 or 8.
Okay, but he's back in and stopping Sheldon Williams at that point in time, who ends up dropping another 6 or 8 at the end of the game.
Yeah, but they'll just ice the clock.
Hard to get excited.
They'll just ice the clock at that point because, we don't have a play till whatever score.
Was J.J. Redick on that team?
No,
before that, yeah.
All right.
Although he's a good – he can ball too.
He was awesome.
I love J.J. Redick. I love J.J. Redick now. I hated J.J. Redick then. I love J.J. Redick.
Yeah, he's a good
NBA
NBA player.
white boy that can shoot, that's got some cockiness and just throws it around and just like, let's go. I'm 50 years old and I can shoot better than anybody in this league. Let's do this.
Yeah,
I love it.
When people talk about Xavier players that might play in the NBA, I for some reason, I always use JJ Redick as sort of like this like bar they have to get. Like, I mean, I love JP McCura, but he's not JJ Redick. I mean, Trayvon Blewett thinks he can shoot, but he's not a killer coming around a screen like JJ Redick is. I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah, totally agree. Yep.
You didn't like the Blewett comment.
Yeah. I'm waiting for him to say something.
No, you're starting a team with Blewett over JJ Redick?
No,
I can't speak. No, I can't. You can't say that. You can't. There's no way I could ever. You can't. I can't do it. I can't do it.
JJ Redick is
trust me. I want to.
JJ Redick is like one of the best 5 shooters in the whole world, and you can't say that about Trayvon Blewett.
No. I totally agree with what you just said. That's why I made. If you're watching YouTube, I made a lot of faces, but I never said a word. I kept my mouth shut.
It's all love. I mean, I
thought you were going after JP.
Love those guys.
I thought you were about to compare JP to JJ Redick, and I was about to just go, absolutely not in any way, shape, or form. I love JP McCura, one of my favorite ballers in a Xavier uniform for multiple reasons. Underrated for his play, overrated for his antics. No, I take that back. He's perfectly rated for his antics. But I thought that's where you're going. So when you all of a sudden jumped it up a notch and went to Trayvon, I was like, yeah, you're right. Okay, I'm done. Speaking of Xavier basketball, real quick, Joe, will you and I sit at a Xavier basketball game this year?
No.
I agree.
I don't see it.
I can't wait to get – I ain't going to lie to you, though. I can't wait to get that deposit back in my bank account.
I don't know if you saw my tweet reply to your dad. I forget it was like a discussion about hoping to have a season. And what I kind of proposed was Big East only, and because there's now 11 teams because UConn's now playing, I think you just got to do 5 home, 5 away, and you do double headers, and you just live with less travel. You just say, okay, Butler come to Centos, play 2 games in 2 or 3 days. And then
that's not even going to happen. It's not going to happen with fans. And I don't think that's even going to happen. You're talking about flu season. We will not have a vaccine at the time yet. It's only going to get worse again. I hate to say this as a non-doctor and as much as I want to be at the Centos Center, but Dad's watching this, right? He's going to watch this on YouTube. He doesn't know that I had to fill out a questionnaire that was sent to season ticket holders. And I ain't going to lie to you, I had trouble. It told me to choose the 3 most important things to going into next season, right? It said 3 most important things to you. I had to choose 1 through 3.
Defense,
I looked at this list.
Rebounding, and free throw shooting.
No. Yeah. When it came to fan safety, sorry. 3 most important things, fan safety. And I looked at these 12 things and I went, yeah, can I just choose all of them? Because there's not one I'm putting above the other, except for the fact that some of them they already did. A couple of them were like restroom cleanliness. I'm gonna tell you right now, after halftime, like there was a group of people waiting when halftime was over to get in and clean them bathrooms. Like they did a heck of a job of cleaning the bathrooms. But outside of that, the other 10 things on there, I want all 10 of them at the top of my list. I kept telling my wife, like, I don't know how to choose. Like, I can only pick 3. This is crazy. I don't even know how to pick 3. But anyway, I don't think it'll happen. There will be no fans. We will not sit there. Yeah, I would love to get to go to a game or 2, especially to get to go see Butler, to get to go see UC because we miss UC this year. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, MLS finished their tournament. They're now in discussions about, do they play more games? When do they start having fans? So we'll see that. Does baseball, when they get to the playoffs, do they try to have a certain like 20% capacity? I mean, again, I guess
they can't keep their own. They can't keep their own players safe.
yeah, but again, those are not because it's not possible. Those are bad choices. I mean, the Cardinals players went to a casino. The Marlins players went out running errands that they shouldn't have run. I mean, I still believe it's possible to do things a certain way and be safe. But that's putting faith in a lot of people, especially when you
I'm
talk
just
about
going to
fans.
say, you can't put faith in a group of millionaires that they're saying the only way you're going to get paid is if you guys follow these rules. And then you're going to put it in the hands of people that are not millionaires, that are just going there to drink beer and hang out and watch the game. And it doesn't mean there's no monetary value to it except for spending monetary money. Monetary money is probably like a little bit redundant, but anyway, what was I trying to get to? So I can't imagine a way of having that. They'll do no fans now and then fans for the playoffs. I can't see it. Just like with Xavier basketball, like some of the questions we had were, how many games do you want to sit in your own seat for? So they're obviously thinking about, a Xavier basketball is 80, I think it's 82% season ticket holders already,
Yeah,
right?
it's a very high percentage.
Yeah, it's in that 80 number. So you're not going to be like, hey, 30% of fans or 50% of fans or 60% of fans, because that number of fans is already paid for all of their seats for the entire year. So it's going to be hard to say something like that unless you figure out a way to say, okay, season ticket holders, you're going to get, instead of 17 games, you're going to get 11, 8, 9, whatever. It's going to be tough.
Well, they have that progressive pricing. So I think what they would do is they would just tier all the games, and you as a season ticket holder would get, one from each tier or something. Again, though, I think what'll happen is most people just won't do it. They just won't do it. They won't go. I mean, I think, I don't know, like if FC Cincinnati calls me and says, hey, do you want to pick 3 matches this fall? That's going to be a big discussion. I don't know if I don't have the answer to that question right now.
So you don't have it. So for Xavier basketball, you got the questionnaire. I got the questionnaire. We had to fill it out as season ticket holders. October would be when we would start going to games, dude. I ain't gonna lie to you. 2 months comes quick. We've been doing this for almost 6 now. Like, I remember when it started. 2 months ain't gonna be that far away. How comfortable, Joe Lehnert, do you feel right now with going to a Xavier basketball game?
I don't know. I'm on the fence now. What's strange is that my everyday life is a little more normal than most people right now, because like our office is open. We're open for business. We're back in the office. Trying to do all the office protocol and doing it successfully. I'm having meetings with clients. I'm having lunches with people in restaurants. So I mean, that I think that experience over the last few months has led me to be closer to being comfortable with it. But again, I still don't know right now if I would go to a indoor basketball game.
Buddy, I'm going to tell you this right now. One thing that changes the world is when the corona hits your house. And the Rona hit my house, and it changed me in ways I can't even tell you. Now, it didn't spread through my house, but it hit my house. And I'm going to tell you right now, brother, it changes the way you look at things. And I still see myself getting looser and looser even after we've had the issue in our home. I still see myself getting a little looser with it. but I still have not been to a restaurant. I'm still have not traveled for work, and that's what I do for work. Like, there's a lot of things that make the world a different place once it hits you. And if you get into a confined system like a basketball court or arena, and it hits, and all of a sudden everybody may not know it. Everybody's not going to know it, but it hits. You got 80% or 70% of fans there, and it hits 10% of them. Brother, that's a big amount of people. And hits home a little quicker than everybody thinks it will.
Yeah, they're not going to have fans. And if they do, it's going to be only in such a way that all the fans are away from each other, enough distance. And that's not going to be a very high capacity.
That's my thing is they were talking about trying to do that in baseball, like you said before, sometime this year. But even if you have people sitting 6 feet apart, walking to your seats away out of the stadium when the game's over, people aren't going to stay 6 feet apart just because you're sitting 6 feet apart.
It's like the zoo right now, bro. You go to Cincinnati Zoo, you gotta schedule a time. You gotta schedule a 2-hour period. But when you walk into the zoo, everybody's in there at the same time, right? So the beginning is packed. You spread out, things happen, you feel comfortable again, things spread out. But man, there's ding dongs that are gonna walk right up and stand next to you when you're standing looking at some monkeys' pink butts or whatever you're doing. And no matter what you do, if you're in public, you are in a state of, I hate to do this to you, Adam. I hate to put this fear back into you. But if you're in public, man, you're in harm's way. Now, certain people like me that have a immune system like Mike Tyson in the late 80s, early 90s, it don't bother me one bit. I've already had the corona, I'm pretty sure, but I only had it for about 10 minutes. Pop, pop, pop. I hit it with a quick 4-piece, knocked that thing out, and I'm good now. So
there we go with the chicken again, talking about 4-piece. Very hungry. All right. Look, we have got to let Joe get to bed because we've got one more thing to address, and that's Jim Gaffigan.
Oh, cow, it's 12:45.
But, yeah, so the man has a job, and we need to let him take care of business and get some rest so he can go out to lunch at a restaurant tomorrow. No, but seriously, it was an honor to have Joe Lehnert on with us. He brought us a little soccer that we would not have normally talked about, even though he asks us all the time to. So he brought that for us, and I loved the discussion between you guys about all the baseball stuff. You're going to come back on, Joe, whether you like it or not. We're not even asking. We're just going to tell you you're coming back on at some point here.
Well, yeah, because somebody's got to eat. Somebody's eating 10 stupid hot wings.
That's right. So I don't usually partake in the comedy segment of your pod, but I think I've said this when you guys were on Facebook Live in a couple chats a couple times, but Gabriel Iglesias, they call him Fluffy. You guys should add that to your list.
All right. So here's the deal. I'm going to tell you this. I feel like that's kind of a homer call. Right? I mean, that's kind of like being a Reds fan with the worst bullpen in baseball and the best starting staff in baseball and saying that baseball should just go 7 innings. I feel like the short, pudgy Mexican is going to come out to the podcast and say we need to do Gabriel Iglesias on the comedy segment.
I'm telling you, even though we share similar ethnicities, I'm not saying that's it. I'm just saying.
No. It's not just ethnicity. Oh no, my friend, it's not.
No, if you met one of my cousins specifically, you would think he was Gabriel Iglesias. So, but no, yeah, Fluffy's the man. So add him to your list.
Well, here's the deal, Joe. I'm going to tell you this right now. What we've done now for about, I'm going to go with 2 months, month and a half, 2 months. We're going back and forth on who chooses the next comedy segment. This week, Adam chose Jim Gaffigan. Okay? Which means I get to choose next week. I'm putting a guarantee out there. In honor of Joe Lehnert and his Mexican heritage, I am choosing Gabriel Iglesias. I'll tell you which one when we get to the end of the comedy segment.
All right, awesome.
On that note, Joe, my brother, you do not have to hang out for the Gaffigan set. If you want to hang out, you're more than welcome to hang out and be on the Zoom call. But if you want to leave, you're more than welcome to leave, because all we're going to do now is talk about Jim Gaffigan's latest comedy segment on Amazon Prime.
Yep. Well, I'll leave it to you guys. Thanks as always having me on. Big fan. Can't wait to see and hear the playback. But have a good night and go Reds.
There you go. Go Reds. Zip them up. Good work. Good work.
Thanks.
All right, see you guys. Thank you.
See you, buddy.
All right, bye.
All right.
The man, the myth, and the legend, Joe Lehnert, comes on. I don't know who won. But considering he's not on the podcast at this exact moment in time, I'm going to say I won the debate.
No, that was just a good fun discussion. I loved it.
I feel like there would never be a winner in that, because when it's as much as I hate to say this, it's like politics these days. If you get too far left, if you get too far right, there's just no in between. And that's the way I feel about baseball.
Yeah. There's got to be some gray area, and some of the stuff that somebody on your side of the debate, a lot of that's true. A lot of it's great points. A lot of the stuff that the reason that he feels like 7 innings are better, those are great points too. It doesn't matter, because we don't get to or have to make that decision for baseball. We have to deal with whatever they tell us to deal with. So right now it's 9-inning games unless you're playing a doubleheader, and it's 7 innings, and you even agreed to that. And I agree too. If they keep it 9 innings, I still think even next year everything's back to normal, life's back to normal, people are in the stands, stuff. Doubleheaders exactly for that reason. So we're talking about shortening the game to get more fans interested, because it's less time to invest. But for players, I think that's when that comes in. For players to do double headers, I think 7 innings makes more sense, because you just wear those guys out. In one day, you're using 2 days worth of work in one day.
Right.
So,
but anyway, the only thing they've done to make that easier for you, if you're a Major League Baseball team, is give you one pitcher. You get one pitcher that you're allowed to put on your roster for that day. That's it. Yeah. One.
And usually you have a lot of times you have 1 day to figure that out, because they don't normally schedule
the starter. It's almost always the starter, because you don't want to throw your rotation off. So you keep your normal starter for the day, and you bring up your AAA starter for that day, and you say, well, good luck, old boy, and we're going to send you back down.
Yep, and it's all in a day, because usually it's a rain out from the day before, and then suddenly you got to make a quick decision, and you got to bring somebody up. And so, all right, well, we got to move on. To our comedy segment. We had Jim Gaffigan, his new special, The Pale Tourist. And I didn't realize what exactly this was until I watched it. So he has done a tour. It had to have been before the COVID stuff, because he was traveling around the world doing all kinds of different things in different countries. So it had to be at least before January or February, maybe.
Yeah, I want to say it was around the election, just based off. It was, I would say, is either just after the election or right around the election of 2016, just based off of some of the jokes that were put out there.
Oh, was it? I thought it was okay.
There was some. He kept saying there's an election going on. So then I could be wrong. You know
I
what?
was thinking he
Maybe
was
it is.
talking about
Maybe it
the
is
upcoming.
just coming up. You're right. It very well could be. So, either way, can I just be? I'm just gonna be frank.
Well,
When I
I've
when I
always known you as Chris, but if you want to change it now, I guess at
no, I'm gonna
37
be
years old.
frank for just a moment, and then I'll go back to Chris.
Okay.
But when I'm frank, because I used to know this dude named Frank that just he hated history. He hated school. He hated history. He hated social studies, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to be frank, man, I was just tuning in for a comedy segment, not a daggone history lesson, especially a history lesson about Canada or Spain. What was that? What was that, dude? I ain't gonna lie to you. Jim Gaffigan did not get a big score out of me the first time we watched him. I watched the whole. So this is a 2-part series, right? It's 45 minutes and 50 minutes. It's two different. One's in Canada, one's in Spain. I think the second one's in Barcelona. I'm not sure where the first one is in Canada.
Right.
Either way, it's basically he makes fun of Canada and then he makes fun of Spain. But it's just talking about their history, and it's a bunch of baloney that I don't care about and I don't know about. And listen, if I like, there are certain things I love to learn about history. I love history. But if I'm tuning into a comedy special, I don't care. I don't care. And I stayed awake for the segment. The second segment, I don't know where I fell asleep, but I fell asleep. And when I woke up, it was over. So I feel bad, but somewhere in Spain, I fell asleep.
I gotcha. I will. So I agree with a lot of that. That was the thing, is the Canada stuff in both of them. Most of his material was about where he was, and the things that he was. A lot of it was about the food he was trying around there, and the cuisine that is native to those places, and they're just cultural stuff. And that was the hard thing about it, is following it, because I couldn't relate, because I don't eat that stuff. I've never eaten any of the things that he talked about. I don't know what most of those things are. I've never been to Canada. I've never been to Spain. Just living your life, you hear a little bit about cultures in both places and stuff like that.
Yeah, but you had poutine though, right?
I've never had poutine.
What?
No.
All right, it's on. When the Corona's done, oh my God.
What is that? Is that the things that he said were mashed potato baseballs or something like that? Is that what
No. I think he incorporated it, but no. Poutine is mostly mostly a French fry based substance with a whole lot of gravy and cheese and a little bit of some kind of meat that you want to put on it. Yeah, you're getting poutine at the house. I'm poutine. I'm gonna get you a little poutine. You know what I mean? You little poutine. I ain't talking about that pie, but that poutine.
I have a big problem with what it's called. I don't know why it bothers me that it's called
Is
that.
it the poo or the punani?
No, no. I think that it's poo and just just the whole word in general. I have a big problem with the beginning of it, and it doesn't do me any favors at the back end either. But I don't know. That was the thing. I had a hard time relating to a lot of the jokes, but I tried to separate what I love about Jim Gaffigan from the content of the jokes. He's still the way he uses his voice. And
Oh my God. My wife was watching this with me today, and she goes, "Why is he loud whispering throughout the entire thing?"
the Spain one, he was, yeah.
Oh my God.
The Spain one, he was. But I've gotten to really like that. That was a little bit different because it did seem like he was whispering the whole thing. And
The whole thing. Yeah.
yeah, but
Hey,
his joke,
why are you doing this?
that was different. But
Yeah,
I
way
did
different.
like
Not even close.
I did like some of his jokes though, and he kind of broadened it at certain points. Like he talked about toward the end of the one from Spain, he talked about bullfighting, and he did a whole thing on animals, and he talked about uh, people that have chickens, and he was like like he was basically animating the animals with his voice, like he was giving them human qualities. So he was talking about the bullfighting, and he's like trying to figure out why things happen in the rodeo the way they do, and he's like why did they decide to dress people as clowns? And he's like, it's not like the bull. He's like, it's not like the bull is like, oh, I'm gonna gore you guys. And wait a minute, is that a clown? He was like,
Yeah.
he's like, is it my birthday? Did you guys give me a clown for my birthday?
Listen,
He's like, I didn't even think you guys liked me. But anyway,
there
he's talking.
there are small bits that, yeah, I laughed. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it wasn't terrible through and through. I laughed. There were some funny parts, and a lot of it was the Mexican Canadian comparisons. But or not Mexican. I'm sorry, American Canadian
Yeah,
comparisons. But in general, dude, I ain't gonna lie. I don't know what I gave him the first time. I'm just gonna go out there and I'm gonna go to 2.3 mostly because the only bullfighting thing that I remember was where he was making fun of Spaniards for dancing around with a red cloak and playing with a bull until it got wore out and then stab it in the neck.
yeah, it was right. It was right there. You saw most of it then. Yeah, he's like,
Oh no, I was half awake for 99% of it, but I was also half asleep for 99% of
it. Yeah, yeah. He was like making it like two guys were about to get in a fight, and he's like, all right, that's it. I'm gonna go put my gold pajamas and my red blankie on.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, that was so funny. Okay, so yes, I did have a hard time connecting with some of the jokes because they were about other cultures and about other foods and stuff like that I don't know that much about. But I loved his performance. I loved a lot of the joke writing. And so I didn't laugh as much as I have in any other Jim Gaffigan special that I've ever seen. And he's one of my favorites. So I'm gonna go with a 3.8. I'm gonna go 3.8.
I didn't laugh at him that much. But I'm going to give him almost a 4, is what you just said. You basically said half is 2.5. I didn't laugh that much. I didn't relate to it that much, but I'm going to give him almost a 4. That's what you said.
Yeah.
God, the cultural bias in this podcast is terrible.
It's not cultural bias. I am. It's Jim Gaffigan bias. I just
Yeah.
love the guy so much,
Yeah.
and I think
Jim
he's such
Gaffigan is you with blonde hair.
a, and about 100 more pounds.
Oh yeah, well, that's for sure.
No, I'm such a
He
fan.
would drink clam juice. You would never even try it.
No, absolutely never, ever, ever, ever clam juice. No. Um,
If I gave you a drink and there's clam juice in it, you'd never even know.
No, we made, so I worked for a flavor company, as you know, and I have for years and years, and we have made clam flavor before that had clam juice in it, and I had to taste it, and it was as bad as I thought it would be.
First time I ever heard about clam juice. I've been married for almost 11 years now, our 10-year anniversary, which normally I would have taken that week off of the podcast, but I couldn't help myself but to call in from Mexico. Because of the amount of Canadians that are there, which we never talked about this on that day, but apparently that's when I found out about this clam juice Bloody Mary, it's basically a Bloody Mary with clam juice instead of what do you call it? V8 or whatever, tomato juice.
Ugh.
I tried it. I was good. I mean, ain't nothing bother me. You put enough salt on it. I drink it all day long, man. You put enough Worcestershire sauce in there, soy sauce, I'm good.
Clam juice is very salty, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I just put more on
it. Well, you put more salt on everything, so.
So true. As I eat my extra salty sunflower seeds.
So I just realized that's what those were. Oh man. Okay. Well, so all right. Moving on. So what's that?
Did I rate it?
You gave it a 2.3.
Okay, I'm good with that.
You don't want to change it? Is that your final answer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, we're a point and a half difference.
What's my lowest grade? What's my lowest grade I gave anybody?
It was.
It was someone in the Jim Gaffigan era. I know that.
It was Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld gave a 1.9.
My favorite comedian. I gave that. That just tells you how unbiased I am. All right. After that, where was I at?
Next lowest you had, see, the last few weeks I haven't added to the list yet. I feel like one of those. No, you loved Ursula Carlson. You liked Hannibal Buress.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you give Eric Andre? That was. I think you were okay on that one too. Next lowest, you had a 2.2 for Kevin Nealon.
This was a 2.3. I'm good with that. I'm good with my number.
Okay.
I just want to make sure.
Nope. Whitney Cummings, you gave it 2. Whitney Cummings got a 2 from you.
Once again, the 2 lowest that I have on this podcast are probably my 2 favorite comedians. Whitney Cummings and Jerry Seinfeld might be 2 of my top 5 comedians of all time, and I have them as 2 of my lowest. Maybe because I think so highly of them.
Okay, guess what you gave Jim Gaffigan? The first Jim Gaffigan is called Quality Time. Guess what you gave that one?
2.8.
Close. You gave this one a 2.3. You gave that one a 2.4.
Oh, perfect. No.
How about that?
Oh, I'm totally good. Dude, that is exactly where it should be. I feel so much better about that. This is what I'm talking about. I don't know where any of my grades are. I'm just off the top of the head, and I just put them right into the categories they belong.
You're consistent.
Consistent is the word. So on that note, I'm in charge of this week's comedy segment.
Yes.
As promised to this week's sports co-host or guest or however you want to call him. I'm going to go with a pudgy Mexican filmed in Houston with his newest stand-up comedy special from 2019, which we talked about possibly doing back in January. So we're going with Gabriel Iglesias, and it is called, I think it's called One Show Fits All, but I need to double check on the flicks.
So it's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix. It is 2019, and it's called, that's it. One Show Fits All.
One Show Fits All.
Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias, One Show Fits All.
That sounds good to me. I'm glad we're finally doing this. Joe has requested Gabriel Iglesias many times, so I'm very happy we're doing this.
And we've been this close to choosing him many times. I'm going to tell you the big reason why I don't choose him when we do these podcasts is I try not to get into the guys that are easy funny, right? Like stupid funny people. I'm going to laugh at stupid funny all day long. And Gabriel does a good job with stupid funny. And we all know he does. So it's almost easy, but I enjoy it. I'm good with it. And like I said, on behalf of my little Mexican brother, I'm down. Let's do this.
Right on. All righty. Well, we'll be back next week with Gabriel Iglesias. We'll have probably more stuff on baseball, I'm sure, because I'm sure half the league will have COVID-19 by next week. We'll have probably more stuff. We might spend a little more time on the NBA next week because we're going to be getting a lot closer then to the end of these seeding games. So
yes,
we're going to be in the playoffs.
Thank God. I can't wait till these seeding games are over and I wish we talked about this more, but it's fun watching these games, but you can just see that some of these teams, they already know where they stand and they're in a 3-spot radius and they're good with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. And you're not playing for home court advantage necessarily. This is just for, because they're going to stay there. So this is just for who you play. So, you might, if you feel like you have a more favorable matchup, if you're the Clippers and you're number 2 in the West, and you feel like you might, let's say if you're Denver and you're number 3, and you feel like you have a better matchup against the number 7 team than you do the number 6 team, you're going to play your butt off to try to get that 2 spot, to try to pass the Clippers, get to that 2 spot so you have that matchup you want. Other than that, you're not playing.
Or the complete opposite. You may not care because you think you've got a better chance against a lower seed, and you're going to be like, you know what? Let's drop down and play the
Utah,
whoever they are, the Warriors, who are, what are they, the last team in the league that didn't even make this thing.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I just want the playoffs. I just need playoff. I need playoff sports. I need a major tournament in golf. I need something. I need extra. I need just a little extra, and we're this close, bud. We're this close.
Yep. So like 8 more days. I think the 14th, August 14th, is the last day for the seeding games, and then a couple days after that, they start the playoffs. So it's getting there. We're getting close.
So on that note, check us out. We got a Gabriel Iglesias coming up here next week on the comedy segment. We just had Joe Lehnert with us live on the Zoom call, talking about baseball, basketball, and all things soccer. And until next week, Don't forget to turn your headlights on.